And yes, it is Thursday. Time for the Sports Roundup on WMBG 740 with, what's your name again?
Adam Richards. You know my name.
Well, the people.
The people. I'm on from 4 to 6 now. 4 to 6:30 on Thursdays.
Nobody listens.
Okay, James.
No, I can complete a sentence. And Brian Hill here on the Sports Roundup, and we have a very, very, very special guest. But before we talk about the special guest, I want everybody in our listening land to understand how I met this individual. I walked into my office. I sat down. I get a call from the county attorney. The county attorney says, Mr. Hill, there's somebody in my office, and I think you should meet him. I just got out of a meeting with a couple board members, not feeling the love. You know what I mean? Just was not ready for this.
You're not feeling the love?
I am today
Okay,
because
good.
I love the special guest. So I walk into the office and I look at the man. Holy smokes, you're Jess Kersey. And he looked at me and he said, son, you're too young to know who I am. I said, in 1975, you were at the Buffalo Auditorium refereeing in the Boston versus the Buffalo Braves. And he looks at me. How old were you? I was old enough to turn the channel. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my humble thank you to have Jess Kersey here live at WMBG. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine, and yourself?
Every time I see you, we just laugh.
Yes, we do. You have to. If you don't laugh, what are the three sayings that we're supposed to do every day? Is we're supposed to laugh. We're supposed to.
You're looking at Mrs. Kersey. You said you're a
By the
mouse,
way,
but you know what?
For all the people watching on video, she is hiding behind the camera.
She is.
We have to laugh. We have to.
I hope it's love. No?
Live?
Play basketball.
No.
No, what?
No. Jim Valvano said it in his speech.
Oh, I forgot what he said. What did Jimmy
It
V
was
say?
3 words.
Love, live, and laugh?
I know it was laugh. Cry.
Cry.
Yes, sir.
Cry.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
You have to do that every day.
But I just want everybody to understand. Jess Kersey, NBA referee. Retired in 1997. I got a lot of facts about you because there was a couple games I was a little ticked off. But we're going to...
You thought this was going to be a fun, happy interview. It's never that.
1997. Were you born?
I was born, but the other host was not.
And you said 97. You mean 79?
He retired. He's 1997.
I was
he retired.
17.
You couldn't drive. You couldn't drink.
I could drive.
You couldn't even vote.
Legally.
1997?
Is that when you retired, sir?
No, 2007.
Oh, so
Yeah.
you got much more love than I thought.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, check that out.
Yeah, but you have to understand that prior to that, I was in the ABA.
Oh, my goodness. So did you create the colored basketball with the 3 multicolored USA basketball?
The 3-point shot.
All right, so let me ask you this question. All right, so when you're in the ABA, what was your first? Do you remember your first game?
Yes, it was Charlotte and who was it? Charlotte and New Jersey, I believe.
All right, so in what year was that? 1970?
1976.
So that was
We
the
merged
year.
in 1976.
So that was the year that the Nets sold Dr. J
Yes. No, the Virginia Squires sold him
to
the Nets.
and then the Nets sold him
To the Sixers.
in '84, something like that, correct?
To the Sixers.
Okay, so the Virginia Squires.
Oh, dear.
See, because Jess Kersey is from Newport News, and Jess Kersey went to Thomas Nelson Community College, and Jess Kersey.
Can you tell I like saying your name?
I love Jess Kersey. Was an NBA All-Star ref 83, 87, and 2002.
Wow.
You missed a couple of years, but that's okay.
Did I really?
Yeah, I refereed 5
You did-
NBA All-Star games.
But why didn't you referee the entire career? Why weren't you in the NBA Finals? Because I've only seen you miss 1 call.
Oh, Lord have mercy. There was a lot more than that.
No, but look, I'm trying to hook you up here.
I know you are. But the thing about it was, I wasn't in the NBA because the ABA hired me. I was like 27 years old, 28 years old.
Okay.
And they came and offered me a job. And they saw me work up in West Virginia. They were playing Davison. The ABA did. Invited me to their camp. I went to camp. I worked 2.5 minutes the entire weekend. Referee got on the floor for 2.5 minutes. I couldn't believe that.
And you got the job.
That was a setup. I was already hired.
You were already hired.
They just wanted me to
see
hang
that
around.
2.5 minutes.
They just wanted me to hang around New Jersey for a while.
Well, I got to say, unlike Adam, I actually watched the ABA. I remember the Kentucky Colonels.
Yes.
I remember the San Antonio Spurs. I remember
Remember, it was Dallas before San Antonio.
It was Dallas, and then it was San Antonio. I remember the Nets.
Yes.
Okay, I remember the Pittsburgh Panthers.
Yes.
After those teams, Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah. No.
There was a Kentucky. Wait a minute. There were 8 teams, if I remember correctly.
10.
See,
you don't.
I need you. You're my historian today, because typically you're making me look like I make.
I'm
Adam.
taking notes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm taking notes. You need to just come in more often. I'm enjoying this quite a bit to sit back and watch this.
But I got to give myself somewhat of a little bit of credit. I don't have any notes in front of me about how many teams and what you've done. I just know I love you as a human being and a person, and I'm thanking you for being here today. It is your show. So talk to me about the start of the ABA and how you dealt with that, because I'm sure you weren't getting the same perks you were getting in the NBA.
Okay, how do we start? Do you want to start from the beginning?
Why not? We got all day.
Wow. Okay, we'll start from the beginning. I was working a game in West Virginia, and they were playing Davison. In the ABA, I think I just explained it. They had scouts there, and they liked what this little 27-year-old kid was doing. And believe it or not, I had red hair.
I remember that.
Totally red hair.
75, you had red hair still.
It's a sandy color now. It's not white. And I went up there, and I didn't work a whole lot at the camp, but I got hired. They gave me a 40-game contract, $110 a game. Whoa, that
big
was
money.
Big, boy.
Yeah.
Guaranteed 40 games. I worked 70. So they added some to it. They said, "Ooh, this kid might be able to stay around a little while." And then they signed me to a full contract, $15,000.
Man,
that was big time.
You were getting paid, man.
Oh yeah, it was better than that 110.
Now, what year was this? 1968, 69?
69.
Okay.
1969.
All right.
And then when the merger...
I'm looking at your wife right now.
I understand
She's
that.
laughing.
After that, we merged with the NBA, and they took 4 teams from the ABA.
We're doing time checks.
I understand.
All right.
we
See, this is sophisticated radio right here. Adam goes 2 fingers, time 2 minutes.
I can do that. I could write it down and hold it up.
So we merged with the
we merged with the NBA, and then I signed a 82-game contract with the NBA because that's what they had. Mindy Rudolph was the boss, and you know what type of official. Well, I don't know if you do or not. I don't know if you were old enough. Were you old enough? How about Adam? Was he old enough?
Adam wasn't born,
I don't even
sir.
think I was thought of at that point.
He wasn't born.
No, I was watching you.
You were watching?
Oh,
it?
yeah, I was watching you.
That's good news.
Were you number 20 or number 51?
In the ABA, I was 21.
Uh-huh. And in the NBA?
I was 20.
All right. I've been watching you.
I wore 20 for a long time.
Yes, you did.
I worked that crazy sport for 36 years. 31 of them in the NBA and 31 of them in the NBA. I think that's what I said. And 5 of them in the ABA.
Well, you know, the one thing I have to say is that we, in my profession, in my world, we watch the NBA Classics. And I've gotten my fill of watching the old games and ensuring that I can adequately discuss some of the calls that I saw in your past life as the NBA referee.
Yes.
But we will get back to some of those comments after this short commercial break. You are listening to WMBG 740 Sports Radio with Brian and Adam and Super Sandy Jess Kersey. And welcome back to the Sports Roundup on 740 WMBG. My name is Brian Hill, and again, I have Jess Kersey here, who not only do I view as a great referee, but I view as a great human being. The first time I met you, sir, you and I just hit it off. Your wife was like, we really have something else to do. You have him in your office. It's been 2.5 hours. Oh, wait a minute. The taxpayers might get upset with that, Adam.
Yeah, they could.
That did not happen. So what we talked about was some property valuations at Drummond Field. And he said, I want to buy this mansion. And I said, sir, I don't think you should do that. That's not working. So anyway, we're going to go back. We're going to go back. So when you did your first NBA Finals game,
yes,
tell me what your thoughts were when you were walking from your dressing room onto that court. What were your thoughts? Because that was an NBA, and we want to talk about your NBA exploits, because in that short 5-year span, you did some special things. But getting to do an NBA Finals game,
yes,
tell us a little bit about that.
Well, number one, when you get the assignment, you've had a good year. I mean, to get to the third round, you've had a good year. But when you get to the finals, it's just exceptional. And I was nervous. I was scared. And when I walked on that floor, all of that left me. And it became time to go to work. And it was so much fun. I'll be honest with you, you got the best of the best playing. They're not going to go out there and commit foolish fouls.
Right.
They're going to go out there and play the basketball that they've all been trained to do, and they all know how to do. I mean, this is the top talent in the league. Top 10 players in the league are starting. And then the top, top 6 team players come in, and nothing changes.
Yeah.
So you've got a game, and you better be ready to referee it.
Now, do you remember who were the teams that played in that game, that first championship game of yours? Can I have that? 'Cause I saw that ring.
Yeah,
that's a big ring, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, it is.
It's written on the back, but I can't see it because I don't have my glasses. It's Philadelphia, I believe, and the Lakers.
And now, was that the year that Moses Malone and Dr. J were saying 4-4-4?
I believe so.
So, see, I knew that because I watched that game last night, and luckily for you, I didn't see you fall. But I was watching a clip fall. I was watching a clip because right after that, there was a clip of a guy that you might know named Darryl Garrettson.
Oh, my God.
Bobby Jones wiped him out.
Yes, he did. And he wiped Darryl right out.
And Bobby tried to help him up, and Darryl's like, man, that really hurt.
Bless his heart.
Now, who's the greatest NBA player that you've ever watched?
I don't think that's a fair question. And the reason I don't think it's a fair question is we had too many of them. And look what Bird did for Boston. Oh. Look what Michael did for Chicago. Look what Kareem and Magic did for the Lakers.
So who would your favorite player be? If you had to, throughout your time playing, if you had to pick your personal favorite player, who would that be? Just on and off the court from knowing them.
I can't answer it.
Top 3.
It's too many. I understand you.
Okay,
that is an honest answer.
I got a better question.
All right.
Of all the players in the NBA, who did you hate the most?
Oh, there's a good one. Or not hate. Who was the most difficult to work with?
Who did you dislike the most? Not hate. Hate's a strong word. Who did you dislike with immense passion?
Or who gave you the biggest? Who was the biggest pain in your side?
We're going to get an answer out of this one because I'm going to say a couple words.
There you go. Y'all are setting me up now. Who was the biggest pain in the butt? That's what you want to know. I would say, in my opinion, Rick Barry.
Everybody tells me that.
Wow.
Everybody that I hear tells me that Rick Barry was the biggest, and now he's like a pariah. He's like the sage. He's a smart guy, but he was a pain in the rear end.
Well, I mean, I look at it like just about all of our top players that went through this league, okay, went through the NBA. They all got jobs.
Yeah. More so than the NFL or any other sport.
Yeah,
I've noticed
they were
that.
either assistants or announcers or TV commentators. I haven't seen Rick Barry on too many of those shows or heard him too much on the radio.
That's true. And
or as an assistant coach.
Probably because people still remember him.
Well, Rick. Rick.
Now, wait a minute, though. He had two sons that were absolutely gentlemen, professional gentlemen.
That's because of their mother.
Yeah. They'll take from the
It
mother.
has to be because Rick Barry, from all accounts, Rick Barry. Now, Al Attles was
was he great?
the head basketball coach at the Warriors. He came out of North Carolina A&T.
Yes.
Al Attles grew up in my county back in New Jersey. He went to Weequahic High School. We had some wars against that school. When I saw Al Attles in 1974-75 on the sidelines, Rick Barry was on the team, and I saw Al Attles physically put Rick Barry in a seat.
Yes.
And now, Al Attles is not a tall man.
No.
He's a guard. He was maybe 5'10", 5'11",
Yes.
but he had this voice. And he was very respectful until you ticked him off. That about right?
Yes.
Okay. So he was the only coach I saw to handle Mr. Barry, and I didn't like the underhand free throw that he did. He tried to teach George Johnson that.
Yes.
It didn't work.
No.
I saw that on
was horrible.
Classics the other night. They were showing that where he flips the wrist. I've never seen anything like it.
Now, let me ask you this question. Now, you were in 1911 NBA games.
Wow.
How in the world could you run up and down that? See, after 3 games at my age, I'm done. You went farther, and I'm not going to tell everybody how old I am, but you didn't retire at my age. You kept going. How did you stay in shape and be able to do that?
I ran every day.
Mm-hmm.
I stretched every day. And I'm not just talking about the season. I'm talking about the off season. When the season was over, I would probably take off 2 weeks, and then I'd get right back at it. Because I loved the job. I knew what it took to have to pass the physical, and I wanted to be in shape when I went to camp. And if you don't pass the physical, you don't work.
So when you had to do a physical, what did that entail?
In the beginning, when Mr. Garrettson was the boss, and he was a good one too, he made us all run 1.5 miles a time.
Okay.
And they put the first year they put times on you so they could figure out how fast you could do this. Well, when they come out with memos saying that this is going to be something new at the camp, everybody started running 1.5 miles at home.
Mm-hmm.
Until, they got it down to, and then by the time we got to camp, you didn't breathe very hard.
Right.
So he put that in, and then after that, I did it all at home before I got to that part of the season or the training camp. And then, you had to stay in shape, and the only way you could do it was run, because that's what we did for a living. And, you ran and you blew the whistle while you were running.
Now, did you see a big change from 1975 athlete to the 2007 athlete up and down the court? Because obviously we got bigger, stronger, faster, I think. In basketball sense, did you see a change at the transition of the game?
I think I saw a change of, I shouldn't say I think. There was a change in 2007, but I think there was a change simply because in 2007, they didn't have the talent that we did back in my era. I mean, you could go to every team in the National Basketball Association, and you could name a player who was the leader on those 23, 26 teams that we had back then. You can't tell me who the big player is in Portland right now.
You really want me to answer that question?
Oh, he can. That's not fair. I can't.
Okay,
I can't.
You can't answer.
I like basketball, but I'm not and he's a basketball guru. I know the teams that I personally like. Outside of that, there are very few players that I can mention.
You see what happens when you ask me a question.
He takes
I
over.
took that one because he'll answer the question.
And Damian Lillard and McCollum are the two players in Portland. But as we transition into our break, I'm going to come back because I got several questions specifically on what you just mentioned because I agree with you.
Yes.
Okay? We will be right back on the Sports Roundup on 740 WMBG. And we are back to the Sports Roundup on 740 WMBG, and I am here with Adam Richards and yeah, it is my because I met him first. Special guest, Jess Kersey.
You can pull that, huh?
That's
I
right.
met him first.
That's right, and his beautiful wife, Mrs. Kersey, is here. Mr. Kersey, you talked about the difference between the ABA and the NBA, and you mentioned the word talent.
Yes.
I agree that the ABA brought a lot of talent to the NBA.
Yes.
But today's talent, to me, is not talent. It's athletes who can either do one or two things. They can dunk a basketball or they can shoot a three-pointer. All the other fundamental stuff that needs to happen, which the New York Knicks, I guess, are trying to do with a triangle offense, they seem to be woefully inept in understanding the geometry of a basketball court to allow for the sweet science that was in the ABA. Do you see a change needed in college or a change needed in the NBA to allow for the sweet science to come back? Because I got to tell you, watching some basketball teams until you get to the playoffs, it's hard to watch, even in college.
Yeah.
Because they are not teaching the fundamental. These kids are going from high school, 1 year in college, and out, they hope, to play in the NBA, and they have not gained any of the fundamentals. What needs to change in the NBA or in a college basketball or the youth basketball system? AAU's taking over.
True.
Harold Garfinkel was my man. I went to 5-star in Pittsburgh. It was the first time I went to a camp where I came home from that camp saying to my mother, I'm done playing basketball. She was like, what in the world happened? I got my butt kicked every game. My roommate was Billy Kennedy, who was a rival from a school across the way.
Right.
We went, first time he was on the plane. So if his wife is listening to the show, he held my hand from Newark Airport all the way into Pittsburgh. But we went to this camp, and we were all county players. We came back from that camp saying, do you think we should start playing football or baseball? Because we got our rear ends kicked. The kids knew how to cut. They knew how to weave. Today, I don't see it. What are your thoughts on today's game?
It just like what you just said, evidently your coaches were not teaching that. And I don't think today's coaches are teaching that. I think today's coaches are trying to find a way to just win. And that's not basketball to me. Go out and play the game. Play the weak side, play the strong side, play the post, set a pick, hit the man in the outer lane going down the floor for the fast break, and rebound. Get yourself in a position to rebound, and you got to play defense. If you don't play defense, you're not going to win. Anybody at that level can shoot.
Well, I sent a note to my AAU team I had in South Carolina.
Yes.
I sent it to all their parents and all the players that I coached, because I had a 5th, a 6th, and a 7th grade team. My oldest son and I coached, and we taught a couple things. You don't play defense, you don't play. That was number one. When you learn how to play defense, if you don't pick and roll, if you don't hit the sidelines, because we use a lot of angle cuts, and we were underwhelming athletically, but we won a lot. Because we were smarter than the other teams. And I totally agree with you. But how do we go back to that mix where we want to teach them precision? Because the way I did it, we taught them math and slope intersect and algebra on the basketball court to understand all the geometry. Today, they don't have a clue what's going on. They don't even know what the half court is.
Well, my opinion of that is that, like I started out saying, coaching is the key. And if you coach fundamentals to start with, you're going to win. And you may lose some, but you're going to win.
Okay.
I mean, you go back and play defense, you're going to win. I mean, what do you think about when you think of Michael and Julius and some more talented players, Dominique Wilkins? All of them did what? They all scored.
Mm-hmm.
Michael would get 35. Julius would get 30. Dominique, he would get like 35. But the thing about those three players, and they're the only three that I named, is they played some pretty dang good defense.
Yeah, I'll ask Larry Bird about Dominique Wilkins
Yeah.
playing defense.
I mean, they played some pretty good defense.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a game in L.A., and it was L.A. and Boston, and Cooper, who played for the
LA.
Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he says, Jess, after you've been around a while, they call you by first name. Then you say, hey, ref. But anyway, it was like, watch me tonight. He shut Larry Bird down. I mean, he played some D and scored some points.
Yeah.
But the good ones always play D.
Two-way players.
Yes.
So let me ask you a question. You know, today your top two teams have been Golden State and the Cavaliers. If you take either one of those teams, you know, we'll say Golden State because they seem to have really found their niche in today, same with the Cavs, and you put them back to when you were in the prime back in the 70s and the 80s, how would they compare? I mean, how would the teams from today compare to back then? I mean, would it even be a close comparison?
I don't think it would, but you got to be. I'm partial to my era. I think we had more talent than what the league has now. I mean, we could go back and name 4 or 5 players on a team.
Yeah.
Back in that era, I mean, you could name probably everybody started for the Knicks, and everybody started for Chicago, everybody started for Boston, everybody started for L.A. Everybody.
Yeah.
How about
Buffalo Braves, man. I can name those starters.
How about Isaiah with Detroit? I mean, he was their leader,
Yeah.
and he made his team better. And all these people I'm talking about made their teams better. And once you find a talent that can make your team better and produce like they did, the team just falls in place, and everything comes together, and you have a lot of wins.
Do you think that the money from today is part of the problem? I mean, do you think that they're overpaid, or do you think that that's just a product of the league?
Well, I do not think they're overpaid, and the money's really good, but the league's getting paid pretty good too. I mean,
Man, I'm telling you. Do you see the salary cap now?
unbelievable.
Did you wait a minute? I just got to say this. So, Russell Westbrook just signed a contract.
Oh,
And he's averaging about $29 million a year over 3 years, right?
I don't know how that happens.
But he's not the highest average over a
No.
3-year period.
No.
Can you believe that James Harden, he don't play defense. He's at 30. And Mike Conley? Really? From the Memphis Grizzlies? So I'm sitting here, sir. No disrespect to your wife. I wish you were 30 years younger so you can make some of that quan, because then I can bring you on the show and say, when am I going to get my ticket?
And that's very true.
I've been waiting for that ticket. You told me you were going to let Brian was going to hook me up with a ticket. I'm still waiting.
I can get you. Write this down. we're going to go. You've got to go to Washington, though.
Hey, I told you I would chauffeur you anywhere you wanted to go because, again, when I first met you, I almost fell down. You know that. We took pictures. I still have those pictures.
Do you really?
Yeah, I was in a yellow shirt. You looked at me and said, real men don't wear yellow. I said, well, you know what you can do? You can come take this picture with me. I lost some weight since then because you told me I was looking like I was getting a little portly.
Yeah, you can't do that.
No, man. I'm starting to stretch every day now.
But, if we got portly, it could cost us money.
I understand.
They take it right out of your pocket.
I understand. Well, I got to say that this show today, I've been waiting for about a year. When we met in the office, that's when I started thinking, I'm like, wow, I had Jess Kersey here. Let's see if I or Adam, because we did the James City County moment, and then Adam and I started talking about just doing a sports show.
Yeah. And
we wanted to get the show rolling before we brought on the esteemed Jess Kersey.
You were the first. When we did this, he says, I got one guest. So here he goes. He says, I got one guest. I said, you can tell me? No.
Nope.
Not until we get. And then he goes, you know that one guest? I said, and he goes, I got him. So before this even started, you were the one that he wanted.
So I want to say, we're going into a break now. I want to say thank you so much for coming. Adam and I are going to come back for about another 10-minute segment. We're probably going to talk about you, so you can stay right here with us, and you can even interject with us if you like. But we are going to talk a little bit about you, and I want to say to all the folks in James City County, York County, and the city of Williamsburg, I hope you've enjoyed Mr. Kersey so far. If you want to hear a little bit more, we'll be back in about 2 minutes, and we are listening to the Sports Roundup on WMBG 740.
Three, two, one.
And we are back to the Sports Roundup with Adam Richards, Brian Hill, Jess Kersey. I'm still got a little goosebumps on me.
No, don't do that.
Hey, I had to do something. Mrs. Kersey saw me lift Mr. Kersey's ring off of his finger without him knowing it, so I'm going home with a championship ring from the Philadelphia 76ers, who beat the Los Angeles Lakers, and Moses Malone, rest in peace, 444. 1984. I was a junior in high school watching that game, and I remember Dr. J going baseline, going out of bounds, coming back in the bounds, and putting the ball up on the other side of the basket. And I said, no, he did not. Mark Landsberger looked like, oh, my God, that is going to be on YouTube for a million years, and YouTube hasn't been created yet.
And it's still on.
Man,
it is still on.
And I watched you paused, and you were about to blow, and then you were like, well, he didn't step out of bounds, and the ball didn't hit the back of the backboard, and he flew back in bounds. Good bucket.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong whatsoever.
And then Dr. J coming down and dunking on everybody. The 84 76ers, you talk about talent. Sedell Threet, Mo Cheeks, Bobby Jones, Dr. J. The center at that time, I think, was Caldwell Jones. They also had Darryl Dawkins. Yeah, I'm going back. I think Clint Richardson was their first guard off the bench.
Yes.
And I am. Bobby Jones? Not Bobby Jones.
Yes.
Collins. Was Collins still on that team? No, he wasn't.
Doug Collins.
Doug Collins was not on that team. Bobby
Jones was there.
Hey, I went 7 deep. No, I went 8 deep. Come on, you got to give me some love for that.
No, I'll give it to you.
But I can't do that with a lot of these other teams in the NBA today.
No.
But I can go back then. That. I can't remember who else was on that team.
Well, you named just about all of them. I think we only missed one.
Who did we miss?
I'm trying to think.
Moses Malone?
No.
I think I got him.
No, you got Moses.
Because it was the Twin Towers at that time. It was Moses and Caldwell. Darryl came off the bench. Dr. J.
Maurice Cheeks.
Who was there? It was Maurice Cheeks. It was Sedell Threet. No, Andrew Toney. Sorry.
Andrew Toney.
Okay.
Man, could he shoot it?
Boy, I tell you, he just step on the court and just launch it, man. It was crazy. But there's one good thing the ABA did do for the NBA other than bringing on players.
It made them better.
It made them better, but there was one thing that did happen. See, the NBA didn't have a three-point line until the ABA brought it in.
Oh, yeah, we brought the three-point line with us.
You said we, huh?
Yes.
You said
They asked us what we thought.
Well,
and we said, that's going to be a great add to basketball.
Now, why didn't they change the paint to like the Olympics and the international? Why did they keep the paint in a rectangle? Because now the majority of players play overseas.
And that's fine. Yeah. Let them play. But the thing about it is, the NBA created that lane. It's bigger than the college lane. And these players are huge that play in our league. Not only are they big, they're quick.
Yeah.
And they don't need that crazy-looking thing that the Olympics had. I mean, don't get me, I love the Olympics, and I watch it all the time when it comes on. But, no, we had our own special things. We had the 24-second clock.
That's right.
ABA had 35-second clock. But the NBA, the 24-second clock gave you better basketball because now you got to go down, you got to set up, you got to run your offense. You got weak side, strong side, like I said before.
Mm-hmm.
And referees, we had our primary areas to cover. That's why you see the three-man system today.
Yeah.
Everybody rotates, and the ball dictates it.
That's right.
It depends on where the ball is to where your position is.
Oh, wow.
And sometimes we got screwed up. We may have 2 slots, no trail, but that was good. It was tough when we ended up with 2 leads.
That's right.
Because then we had no slot or trail.
Yeah.
But the mechanics, Darryl created all of those, bless his heart. But he was the best boss I ever worked for. He was always thinking, what can I do to make this game better? And we would go in, and people didn't realize this back then, but every game that we worked, prior to that game, we had to look at highlights from yesterday. Prior to that game, there was a test sitting in our computer that we had to take every day.
Wow.
Prior to that game, we had all kinds of unusual plays that happened the night before. Prior to that game, you had to have a crew meeting with the 3 guys the other 2 guys that you were going to work with. And you had to sit down and you had to go over what was expected that particular night. And that is one reason that the NBA staff became better and better and better, because we were going over the same things every night. Mm-hmm. We had a check-off list that we had to go over during the daytime. And as soon as our game was over, guess what we had to do?
Talk about the game.
We had to go back because we all got a tape, but we had to do it as a crew. And it could be 2 o'clock in the morning and you'd be like this, and you got a 6 o'clock going to Portland or somewhere. And you had to sit down and break down every whistle that was blown, whether it was out of bounds, was an injury timeout, fouls, whatever went on in that game, we had to write about. So it wasn't one of these things where we walked in with our black suitcase, turned around, and walked out.
Yeah.
But that made us better.
Yeah.
Because as time went by, and I mean a small amount of time, you would go back to the locker room and say, damn. Excuse me. But
we'll edit that one out.
We'll edit that one out, yeah.
How could I make that call? What in the world were you thinking?
I know you only said that once, so because I told you.
In my career,
I know the one call too.
That was it.
So we don't have to talk about that one, do we?
Well, I don't want him to say that word again.
No, I didn't mean to.
That's all right.
I got all excited.
Adam, you got to stop saying those words, Adam.
It's okay. That's not the first time.
I'm sure it isn't.
But that's just how the game was, or how officials had to look at a game, and we did it every night. But what did it do to us? It made us better. And even the veterans, like the Earl Stroms, the Darryl Garrisons, the Joe Gashues, the Jake O'Donnells.
Wow.
All you know what I'm saying? Don Murphys, all these guys they were the veterans, but they were the teachers.
Wow, I remember those names. That's so sad.
John Vanek. I worked a game with John Vanek in Salt Lake City one night. Now, I'm a young kid, okay, and John was in the ABA. They brought him over, and I'll never forget it. It was probably one of the worst nights I've ever had in my life. And we're walking down to the hallway of the hotel. probably could have been the longest hallway I've ever been in. And he's up there going, unbelievable. If you had any common sense at all, you wouldn't have any common sense. He was on my case like crazy. But what's that do?
Make you better.
Yes, it does. It makes you a better official.
That's right.
And then when we got to the room, he says, sit over there. We got some things to talk about. And he talked to you, too, because John Vanek was about 6'4", a big man.
Yeah.
And he wasn't fat.
No.
So now I have a question for you. With the way that sports, like you were talking about, how they've gotten away from, Brian had said earlier, the mathematics and the essence of basketball. We have some local basketball teams, and they're pretty good. I know Brian coaches JV, if I'm not correct. That's correct, right? JV?
JV and varsity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do we need to see those high schools going with basketball today? Because you go to high school, and it's gotten away from it from when I was in school, and same with Brian and you. What do we need to get back to at the high school level to really prepare them?
I think Brian mentioned it. You got to get back to fundamentals.
Yeah.
Fundamentals is the key to anything. I mean, our baseball here,
Yes.
and the Peninsula District is pretty strong.
Oh, yeah.
But I've been out to watch a couple of games, and fundamentally, those guys are. It looks like to me they're teaching fundamentals.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I could tell you the teams that aren't very good when I watch a game because there's no fundamentals taught.
Right.
And I've noticed that in football, too. Your buddy, Coach Lynn, fundamentals. And that's, I think, the reason that they've been so successful with football, too, is because I've watched the other coaches with their players and stuff, and you can see the difference when fundamentals are taught from the beginning.
Right.
Not just thrown in here and there when it's needed, but that's the foundation. And I've noticed, like you were saying earlier.
The way I coached and the way Coach Lynn coached. Coach Lynn is about 3 months older than me. I just want everybody to understand that Coach Lynn is 3 months older than me. But we coach the same way. He has 5, maybe 6 plays.
Yeah.
When I coach a basketball team, I have 3 or 4 set offenses, depending on if it's zone versus man. I have 4 inbound plays, and I tell my kids, when we played AAU, we were under athletic. Coach has got you 10-point lead when you walk on the court because I'm going to call 5 plays that will score on an inbounds play.
Exactly.
And they look at me and they say, what? And I tell the parents the same thing. And guess what? If you execute the play, you will score. So now the question is, are you going to allow them to score 9 points on you? That's what I would tell my kids. I want to win every game 10-9.
That's right. Why not?
Right?
And
they're like, all right, we got it. And we went through a progression where we got blasted every weekend. 4-27 that year. Those kids wanted us to give up. Guess what happened the next year? They got a little bit bigger. They got a little bit stronger. The fundamentals. They end up at the South Carolina State Championship for 10 and under teams. We were the first team to make it from our little town in South Carolina when I was living there to that championship game. We got beaten, but it was okay. I told them, this is a first for us. This is a beginning. It's a progress. It's a process. I stepped down for some reasons that we can discuss off air. My oldest son, BJ, takes over the team. Would you believe they won this stupid thing the next year?
I love it.
I hate it.
But that just shows how good of a coach you are. You instilled it in your children.
No. He will never, if I bring him in here, he won't say. They said I didn't do anything.
We're going to have to bring him in next week. So BJ, tell us about this championship. Oh, the one my dad didn't win the year before.
See what I'm saying? That's exactly how he does it. But again, Mr. Kersey, Mrs. Kersey, I want to thank you all. You both for allowing us to have this time with you today.
Yes.
It has been a joy, a pleasure.
Thank you.
You know how to get me anytime you need me.
Yes, I do.
Mrs. Kersey, anytime you need me because of him, you know how to get me.
And you're both welcome anytime on the station, anytime you like.
Appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps it up for our Thursday edition of the Sports Roundup on WMBG. He's Adam. I'm Brian. Thank you, and we will see you next week, 6 p.m. Thursday. Take care.